Welcome to Deal Flow with Patrick T. I'm your host, Patrick T., where we offer actionable insights for your next deal. Today, my guest is Josh Parini, extraordinary individual. A lot to talk about, a lot to go over. Josh, welcome to the show.
Patrick, thank you for having me here. Very excited.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. Josh, we could turn this into many shows. And one thing I love about bringing you on the show is the idea of this show is a person who's been successful using their own skill set, their own talents, their own past, and then moves into deal flow, larger scale deals. And I know you started your career with the musical festival organization, and then you marketing expert, and then NFT guru, and then with a relationship with Binance, and now real estate mogul, right? You're moving into that, and you're already there. So
moving into wealth now.
Moving into wealth. So exciting. A lot to talk about. So yes. In the show, I offer outcome-based consultancy, and one of the things I do is try to reverse engineer success.
Yes.
So if I interrupt you to ask questions, it's because you're saying something that I feel like my audience will say, I want to hear that. That's actionable. I want to hear more. So
a golden nugget.
Yeah, a golden nugget, exactly. So why don't we start? Just tell us like a brief, go through your career, those 4 different stages I mentioned, then we can go through each one separately.
Well, where should I start? Well, I'm a social entrepreneur. What that means that I try to creatively create businesses that are social, whether it be events, whether it be co-working spaces, whether it be concerts, festivals. I love bringing people together. So one of my biggest passions is marketing. I went to school for that. Ended up graduating with a business degree and a marketing degree. Ended up playing D1 soccer. From that, I graduated in the recession in 2008. So not a lot of jobs for an athlete with 2 majors. And here I am ticking the box of like, all right, if I get a 4.8 GPA or a 3.8 GPA, some degrees, D1 soccer, I'm going to get hired anywhere. I'm going to make $100,000 out of college. Yeah, it didn't happen. Yeah. So one of the things that really struck with me was real estate for the growing up. My brother was a custom builder. My uncles, my cousins, they flipped houses. They were contractors. My godfather's a big land developer in Jacksonville and a couple other states.
So you have a lot of good mentors in your life.
Yeah, early on. And so I always wanted to know how business operated and how marketing connected into business. And so I believe that it's a very strong symbiotic relationship. You can't have a successful business without marketing, and you can't have marketing without a structured business, right? So those are the things that I fell in love with because it was like one related to the other, and then when they connected, it's viral.
So how did you get into the music festival? Because I know that was something early on.
So when I graduated college, I joined this company called Certified Leasing and Sales Specialist class. And so what they did is they focused on low occupancy properties, 500 units or more. So this is for big developers who had a lot of units, but they were struggling in their marketing trying to keep the tenant or attracting new tenants. Yeah. So I used the early on social media before a lot of people did back in the 2010s, 2011, 2012.
Got it.
And I used that to draw a lot of attention to the properties. And so what I would do is go around 5 miles and meet every single employer and business and told them who we are. I shopped everyone around. And so I was able to study the market quickly.
You're a scrapper. That's what I love about you. You make it happen. Whatever it takes, right?
If I have to scrub, I scrub. That's the biggest things with the leaders today. It's, we're losing this work ethic.
100%.
That a lot of new entrepreneurs, they just think it's going to be overnight. It's taken me 10, 15 years to get where I'm at.
I'm glad you said that. A lot of the kids today, and I call everyone younger than me a kid, right? A lot of the kids today, they see the success on social media and they think it's easy, right?
That's the problem with social media is that we get this one-sided story, the tip of the iceberg, but the iceberg is massive underneath, right? So I think that, the grind, the tenacity, character building, the failures.
Failures are key.
God,
for learning, right, and for success.
About 7 years ago, I read this quote from Bill Gates. It says, "If you double your failure rate, you'll be twice as successful."
Wow.
So I was like, "What does that mean?" It's like fail twice as much.
Right.
Fall a bunch of times.
Don't be afraid, right, to act and fail. Don't be afraid of failure.
And that's the cool thing about business is that you can, fall into the idea, put a strategy and execute it, and it'll teach you 2 things, whether it be I failed at it, but I can fix it, or it worked, right? But the idea is to always execute, and you have to execute with a strategy. So going back to what I was doing, how I got into events, when I was doing these property lease-ups, I really enjoyed the marketing and bringing people in. I really enjoyed seeing people's faces, getting a new apartment or buying a condo or, or a house in a community. And that always struck me into wow, now I got a bunch of members. And so the owners would do these grand openings or these parties. And so they would say, hey, Josh, we're going to give you a budget, set it up. And I'm like, okay, I guess food, bar, DJ, lights.
So that was the beginning of events, doing events, and you saw people working. You saw it working.
Yeah, and then I thought, okay, cool. If I incorporate these elements, because I love going out. You know, I'm a very...
At this point, you're still working for someone else, right?
Yeah, I'm 23, 24-year-old.
Right.
You know, just went to 36 states, so I learned a lot.
Wow.
But
great experience.
Yeah, so I got to find the different nuances and greatness of each state. So, you know, not 50, but 36. And so I thought, man, California is so different from Florida, and Florida from New York from Texas, and Texas to Nebraska and Idaho. So I got to learn all these like languages and food and cultures from each state.
Amazing.
Which allowed me to really understand how marketing works for different markets. And so when I would put these events together, I was just so happy, man. I was just like that guy with a smile like this. It was huge. And I just felt like, holy crap, I can do this. Like, I would love to do this for a living. And one thing led to the other, where I was just like asking for more events, and clients would give me more budget. And then it came to a point where I said, you know, do I really want to do this real estate thing over and over? And so the developers approached me and they said, hey, we want to open an agency in New York, just you. We'll take you out of your company. We'll buy you out, and then we'll put a team around you. But just do what you're doing.
Awesome.
Don't change nothing.
See, that was a big break for you that moment in your career, because you had been successful, produced, shown results.
Yeah, through corporate, right?
And people believed in you, right? People.
Yeah. And when it's cool when you work with somebody who has passion, you know, when you feel like you know, when we work together on deals and stuff like that, it's passion that we're talking. It's friendship, it's passion. The cool thing is that last thing is money. So when you focus on purpose and not profit, profits will come.
Purpose and like solving pain points for others, right? And they see the value 100%.
Yeah, I like to call myself like a doctor. When I go to businesses and I do consulting and marketing, I say, where does it hurt? Right. Is it the ads? Is it social media? Is it the content? And, you know, as entrepreneurs, that's our goal, is to solve an issue.
So that group, was that the beginning of the music festivals, or
That was more like opening the agency in New York to continue doing the real estate expansion. I worked with BlackRock and a lot of big developers over there.
Got it.
And after 3 years, I felt extremely overworked. I was doing 80 hours a week. I was free. I was making a lot of money, but, you know, 80 hours a week. I couldn't go out. I couldn't keep a girlfriend. I was traveling a lot. No life. So I'm like, here I am, like 25, 26, going, this is what it's like? I'm going to have to work like this for the rest of my life? And I just found that this wasn't a calling of mine. And so an ex-girlfriend of mine, Brittany, said, hey, you should come down to Miami, come back. I'm from Miami. I was raised here. I was born in Costa Rica. I was raised here since I was 5. Mm-hmm. And I said, nah, there's nothing in Miami. It's South Beach, and that's it. She goes, no. There's this new place called Wynwood. Brickell's growing. Sun is looking good. There's a lot of opportunity here. You should come down. And I said, all right, let me take a plane down. Can I stay with you? She goes, no. So I said, all right, cool.
Nice try.
I'll get a condo then. So I got an apartment, and then she started showing me Wynwood, and I was like, is this graffiti everywhere? Like, what? Is this legal? It's like, yeah. And it's like, is that a restaurant? The Wood Tavern? And the beers.
It used to be called graffiti, but not anymore.
No, now it's art.
Now it's art.
Mural.
Now it's amazing art, right?
Now you have to, now people commission you
100%
to have this billboard, right? It's a art billboard that you're buying in Wynwood.
I was speaking to an owner in Wynwood. He told me like 30 years ago, we were calling the police on these kids. Now we're hiring them. Now they have great relationships and they're paying them. It's amazing.
These murals are going for 150,000, 300,000, depending on the artist and the size. It could be $1 million.
Yeah. So the music, how did that start?
So I moved down to Miami, and then I was this passion of events and music just kind of took over. And I just saw that Miami was doing some really cool things. But I found two biggest things, and that's where, again, you as an entrepreneur, you got to find that pinpoint of the pain.
Right.
And I found it in the city. And here's what I mean. I would go to the networking events, and they would be so boring. But I would find the finance guys, the investors, suit and tie, right? And at that point, I said, where's the creatives? Where's the designers? Where's the graphic designers? Where's the developers, the engineers? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find them. And so I would say, okay, cool. Well, this business was pretty cool, but I couldn't find anything creative. And the events were not creative. It was just like an open bar, and that's it. And then I would go to Wynwood and experience the cool kid stuff. Like, wow, the art and the clothes, and they're so cool. But guess what? They were all broke.
Right.
So the guys with money had no creativity. And then the guys with creativity had no money.
Right.
And so I said, there's got to be, I gotta bridge this gap. So I created GLUE, which stands for Give, Learn, Unite, Evolve.
Awesome.
And so what we wanted to do was to bridge the gap between business and creativity. And so the way that we started our first event was to bridge the finance guys, the investors, the money people, but also introduce them to the graphic designers, creative directors, marketing directors, CMOs. And then that's kind of how I started with the events. And so they started out as networking events. The first event I ever did was at the Miami Ad School in Wynwood. Nobody would give me a venue for days.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, I got this great networking idea, bridging gap, but yeah, whatever. How much money you have? And so nobody gave me a chance until the Miami Ad School said, hey, we love this concept. This is what we're about. You know, we teach our kids creativity,
Nice.
but also how to make money out of it.
You found the opportunity because you were focused on it.
I was so focused on it, and I wouldn't give up. My first sponsor of that event was Uber. And Uber just got to Miami. They had no idea how to penetrate the market. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, I've got this event. There's really not much parking in Wynwood at the time. And I said, hey, do you mind giving me codes to get everyone there? And I'll put Uber everywhere. First sponsor check was like $2,000 with like 5,000 coupon codes.
Amazing.
But it was like Uber. So my first
You had
sponsor.
an amazing sponsor.
Yeah. And then I was expecting like 100 people, and 750 people showed up. That's my alarm. Sorry.
That's all right.
So the
So
coolest
700 people, 50 people showed up.
750 people
And
showed up.
was it a music festival or was it
No,
just a
this was a
an
networking event.
networking event?
Right? It had a lot of creativity. I had art. I had DJ. I had a bar.
Nice.
But since I was expecting 100 people, I ran out of liquor in like an hour. But people were there for 4 hours.
Right. Wow.
Drinking water.
Nice.
But it was just so interesting for an investor to meet a creative director, a website developer.
And there was a lot of
graphic-
synergy, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement.
Yeah. And then I had vendors, and I had,
So then you moved on to other events similar to that?
I continued doing that for about a year, and then we grew the networking, and then I started featuring brands, and started featuring CMOs, and just creative people in that space, and then we would have like some panel talks, and then a networking event right after. Now, what made my events very different were you can dress how you want it.
Yeah.
Like, don't come here suit and tie. Don't be too crazy and artistic, right? So be comfortable, and so I allowed people to be themselves, have great conversations, but talk about business and creativity. Those are the two biggest things that we can talk about.
Wow.
And the cool thing is I always ended it with an event, like a party. So imagine going to a networking event. You meet all these incredible people with great journeys and just stories, and then having drinks afterwards, and then having a DJ. You're like, what? This is not a normal networking event.
Nice.
And we did these all over all over Miami.
How long did that last? A year or 2 years? Or
We did it for about 2 years until the brand started knocking. And so the brand
then you started getting bigger name brands that found out about it. Like, what was your largest or one of the larger ones that came in? And
Well, we work with Nike, Goldman Sachs, like I said, Uber, LVMH. We work with Rolling
so
Loud,
you solved a
Ultra.
problem and it was successful and you had case studies. They heard about it.
Well, they attended the events.
They attended the events.
So the cool thing was that these creative directors and just events people would come, because I would find them on, one of those, so you want to talk about strategy, one of the things that I specifically did was find these people on LinkedIn.
Nice.
So I built a full database on LinkedIn of creative directors, engineers, like the people that I wanted.
Wow.
I didn't want doctors in my events.
That was early for someone your age to use LinkedIn too, right?
super.
So amazing.
And we're talking almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The cool feature that they don't do anymore now is that once you build your database, you can export the entire list.
Correct.
I know Wizza does it now. So if you guys want to look up at Wizza, you can export your emails out of LinkedIn. You can't do it for free anymore. But I did that.
So
what
you
I
would
did,
start emailing them and looking for sponsorships or inviting people or both? Both.
So what I would do is I would have my team add 200 to 300 people a day.
Nice.
Every day.
Wow.
For these specific 5-6 fields.
Smart.
And then they were all accepted. And then right after the accepted, we did an automated message to come to our event. And so once we started doing that, then the word got out that these events are super cool.
Nice.
And then the brand said, hey, do you do this for brands or this is for yourself? I said, no, for now it's just ourselves. We never, we do sponsorship.
You hadn't thought about it yet.
I didn't think about doing this stuff for brands. I just said, I just love what I'm doing. I have
So
a
they
lot of fun
came to
with
you
it.
and said, do one for us.
Do one for us.
And what were some of the larger ones you started with?
Oh,
the
Miami
ones
Heat, when LeBron James was here, the Dolphins,
Nice.
Working with like the big festivals, the promoters, the clubs.
And that's how you got into the music festivals?
Yeah, and then so soon after, like 2-3 years of doing like branded events, the company shifted from like 100% networking events to maybe now 30%, now 20, and then the brand started taking over the books. And
Yeah.
so they were like, no, you work for us now. So we would then do consulting and
Sure.
the event production. And at that point is when
Were they telling you what they wanted, or were you telling them what they needed at that point for like an event?
pain points, right?
Yeah.
So when I would look at the brand, I would say, hey, where's your activations? Where's your experience? Because I truly believe that brands should be experienced,
Yeah.
not
Love it.
visually just hitting your face, right? So
Right.
try on those shoes, taste that liquor, taste that food. And one of the things that made us very successful is to activate all 5 senses.
Yeah.
So when you came to our event, it was you smelled it before you get into the parking lot. It's like,
Nice. Wow.
damn, it smells good. And then you hear the bass, doom, 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 right? So you're like, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, it sounds
Right.
awesome in there. It smells good. And then you see all the hot guys and girls walking
Right.
to the line. You're like, wow, it's good-looking people here.
All right.
And so then you go inside and then you start tasting it. So now visually it's pleasing. You hear the music, you feel it in your chest. You're fully stimulated with your eyesight. And then you go to the bar and you order cocktails that we created for the event for the client that day. So everything was curated from how you walked in to how it ended.
So a lot of details. You kind of visualized everything, and you prepared all the details, and it made for the experience.
Yeah, and so once I trigger all 5 of your senses, I have your attention,
Right.
and I create a memory.
Yeah.
And so whenever you smell something or you hear a song, it's gonna go bloop. Oh, I remember that event. Oh, I remember that brand. Oh,
And the brand saw the results and continued to bring you in, continued to hire you.
yeah. And so everything that we did was call to action, prepare databases, a lot of content, because that's what you put out for the awareness. And so we were very focused on the numbers, not just how much money we made or how much we spent, but how much footage did we get, how much pictures did we get, how many people checked in,
Yeah.
where did they check in from. Let's look at the statistics. Was it Instagram that brought in the most people? Was it Facebook? Was it Google?
A lot of data driven. You're looking at the data and making decisions based on data. Love it.
And 70% of event producers don't even look at that. They just want to throw an event and
Yeah.
they spend money and then they count the money at the end. I can tell you a million brands have done this and they're not
Or
successful.
just emotions. It was great because of the emotions, but
Right.
they don't
Was it
reverse
successful?
engineer. Reverse engineer. Why was it successful? What made it successful? How can we scale the success?
Right. So that's one thing that I focus, and that came kind of from the real estate side, because when we spent money and did the marketing, how many people came in?
I was going to say, you learn that from mentors because most kids your age wouldn't have known that by
No,
then, right?
yeah.
Unless they were somehow knew someone that
in
was
the
doing
numbers or
in
statistics.
the numbers, the data driven. Love it.
Which is, the major two major sectors in an entrepreneur's life is his creativity of how to solve problems, but also understanding the numbers.
Right.
What's the end goal here? How much money you want to make, or how much impact you want to make?
That's what I mean by outcome based, right? What's the outcome we want? Let's visualize the outcome first, and then we discover the means.
Yeah.
Instead of let's come up with all the means. You don't know, is that really going to produce the outcome? Right?
Yeah. So at this point now, we're producing 1,000, 2,000 people events. And then I took my brands. There was one particular called High Hemp, and they were just doing small pop-ups, mansions and stuff. I said, man, you guys belong to Rolling Loud. Like your brand screams Rolling Loud.
Nice.
And we were the main sponsor for many years. And I designed the entire space for Rolling Loud as far as High Hemp.
What
and
year is this,
activations.
more or less? We're
This
talking.
is what, 16, 17,
Yeah.
18,
Right.
pre-COVID type stuff.
Sure.
And then that get me the taste to Ultra, introductions to Miami Music Week, and now all of a sudden I'm producing my own festivals and concerts, and and then it just became bigger and bigger and bigger. But the biggest thing is you got to start small, understand your mistakes, fail, and then collaborate.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. It sucks doing it by yourself, so you go
What I tell people, to make any business successful, it takes 7,777 times to get stuck, and you got to get unstuck every single time.
every time.
And you need either a mentor to get unstuck, or a solution to get unstuck, or
Yeah.
being scrappy, whatever
Supporting.
it takes.
Support.
Support, teamwork.
So big.
But people get stuck sometimes, and they're very close to success, but they just give up. I got stuck. When
Yeah.
if you found the solution to get unstuck, you'd continue the business going, and whatever it takes. And that's what I see in what you did. So,
Yeah.
and then you launched your marketing business, because I want to move on. I want to get to the NFT stuff.
Yeah.
How did that all come about? How did you get toward that? You were doing the marketing business by them. You were still doing the music festivals, correct? Both?
Yeah, so everything pre-COVID, we started averaging about 100 events a year. So
Wow.
it became very tough, not
So,
only on my
work
body.
intensive.
Yeah, because if you think about events, they're mini companies. You gotta create the concept, the strategy, the staff, the budget, the venue, the logistics, the bartenders, the napkins, the cups. It's just a million things.
A million details.
And you got 2 to 3 weeks to launch it, and then you've got
It's all deadline driven, right? Everything's deadline to get there.
So imagine you have to do 100 a year. So the way that we did it was we focused on Miami's best weeks. So we have Miami Music Week. So we did about, let's say 12 events that day.
Got it.
So we would do the pool parties.
Were they all sponsored by different
labels
companies at this event?
Yeah,
Labels at this time?
Labels, sponsors. Sometimes where they were my.
So at this point, you weren't doing your own events; they were all sponsored by
a good mix of like my own, because I figured, I'm making, say profit wise, $20,000 to $50,000 an event. You're doing 12. That's a good number, right? You're doing $500,000 in a week.
Sure.
And then you take that, and then you're like, all right, I can afford this DJ, I can afford this venue, and then you start doing your own events. So it was a mixture of both. And then we did Fashion Week. So Fashion Week's huge. Then Art Basel Week. Yeah. And then as of late, obviously Crypto Week. And so that became really big. So that's how we averaged out about 100 events. And then the festivals, Miami Open, I did that for many years with the CMO, Kathy. And then we did, Rolling Loud for 3-4 years. And then I worked with Tarek, the owner, and Matt. And then we also worked with Ultra, with the owners there as well. I worked on a specific stage with Carl Cox as well, which is really, really cool. I was a huge fan of his music. And, from there, I just said, this is crazy. And then 2019, 2020, the Super Bowl came. So I'm going, wow, this is the biggest year ever. I'm part of the Super Bowl committee. Wow. I'm going to help out. I have like 7-8 events outside of the Super Bowl that I'm doing, like workouts with like Super Bowl players. It's called Fitness Fantasy Football. Mm-hmm. So imagine you working out with a Super Bowl winner.
That was one of your events?
Yeah.
Nice.
A Fitness Fantasy.
Amazing.
And so we had a bunch of those. And then 3 weeks later, so now I have 17 events planned for 2020. Miami Music Week, and then get a letter. And the letter says, due to COVID, we are shutting down all parties and events. Ultra has pulled out.
Wow.
And so we're like, what? That's like a huge check. We just lost that. And we're like, okay, well, I don't know what the hell this COVID thing's all about, but it's all over the news now. And we're going, hey, we've paid already $500,000 or more in DJ deposits for them to show up in the hotels.
Wow.
We've already sold thousands of tickets. We're literally 1 or 2 weeks away from Miami Music Week. And it was just letter after letter saying, no. So then they started with Ultra, then they started with South Beach, and they shut that down. So we're like, hey, we're in Wynwood. And then we said, you know what? Everyone's still going to come because they bought their tickets, they bought the hotel, and they bought their flight. They're not going to come.
Yeah.
And then like the week before, we got the letter from Mayor Francis, was like, do not do any of these events or you'll go to jail because you're basically a super spreader.
Wow.
And,
so this was a real like train hitting you, right? Train wreck.
Man, this is imagine on a train with no brakes, and there's the bridge is broken, and then you're like, holy fuck, like what are we gonna do? Sorry if I have to say that. There's HBO, so we're good. So I'm thinking, holy crap, I have no brakes. Can I jump this bridge? And we pushed it until then we got the threats, and then we're just like, how are we gonna get this money back? So now we get the shutdowns, and now I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do in my life? So the first thing was, okay, I got to get all the DJ money back. This $250,000 out of my pocket. I need to get this back.
Yeah.
The DJs were like, no, this is a, once in a lifetime type event. It's in the contract for unnatural, some lawyer verbiage crap that it's like not our fault. And then I was like, guys, this is like a pandemic. Like, we didn't plan this. We're not canceling. Ultra's pulling out. Everyone's pulling out. You guys got to, give us the refund. And they're like, no. A month into it, now they're shut down. Now their country's shut down. And then they're like, dude, we're so sorry. We didn't think it was this big. We just thought it was Miami or U.S. No, this is a global pandemic.
Right.
And then finally got the money back. But now I'm facing this, I'm in my apartment by myself with my dog. And this is the first time I can actually breathe for 3-4 weeks. So I was like, wow, I haven't had a break in like 8-9 years.
To reflect and you kind of,
So I went deeper into like meditation. What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with the money? What am I going to do with my partnerships? What am I, it was such a cleansing. I think COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me because it slowed me down.
Right.
100 events to no events. Yeah. And then the second month came in, the third month came in. And that's when we started seeing the live streaming. I saw David Guetta at the Icon building raised $6 million in 2-3 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, I called everyone. I was like, hey, get the cameras ready. I'm going to pitch every sponsor live streaming. And so by the third, fourth month, I was already live streaming award shows.
Wow, that's
live
called
DJ
pivoting,
sets.
right? Pivoting to the next best thing, and you kind of like reverse engineered. Okay, they did that, we can do it.
We can do it.
Pivoted, and you had all the talent to make it happen already.
So the cool thing is
And
that I
experience.
saw the opportunity where I was like, holy crap, hold on, wait a minute. This guy he's famous, so he has a following. He's at a sick balcony. It was actually the pool area at the Icon. And I'm seeing this ticker on the top right corner of how much money he's raising. He's raising money for all the families that can't feed themselves during COVID.
Right.
So I said, oh my God, he's got a cost to it, but he's playing a free concert. David Guetta's playing a free concert on YouTube.
Right.
And it was like millions of people logged in. And I'm going, I can't get 1 million people in no venue ever. You know, we're thinking you got to pack out a stadium of 70,000 people, and that takes a long time and a lot of resources. But with live streaming, it was just like seconds. And people were just, you know, you're bored at home. Everyone's online.
Right. It was a good moment for that.
It was a go moment. And I just saw the ease of it. It's a couple cameras, DJ deck, speakers, lights.
So you launched one.
Yeah. So we started doing stuff for Circle, which is a huge, you know, live streaming EDM exotic location, you know, company.
Yeah.
Sick. Look them up. SERCLE. And they do like the craziest things. So then we started getting we started calling the labels. And then we said,
Your
you know,
former clients and offering this new solution.
hey guys, listen, I know we can't do events. I know you cut the budget, but why don't we do live streaming? Why don't we do DJ sets?
What percentage said yes to that, would you say?
About 80%.
Amazing.
Well, because I threw the case studies. I said, look who's
Yeah,
doing
the case
it.
studies, and they trusted you, and they
said-
knew you delivered.
They always knew that I did everything I said something. That's the thing. Another thing I want to tell that to entrepreneurs and anybody watching. Whatever you say, keep your word, because your reputation is everything.
Everything in business.
Everything. It's like you got to keep that thing so clean.
So they
man.
trusted you. They're ready to go. You showed them the case study. They
Said, look what David did. Look at this DJ did. Look at this. Look. It got to a point where it got so good at it. I pitched my own community. I was living at Moda. It's right there in Harbor Island. It's an island community.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, I'm doing this. Like Val, you know, the property manager said, can I do a couple of balcony parties for our community? It says we have 4 faces.
Yeah.
I would do one here, and I negotiated my rent
Smart.
as payment.
Right.
And I said,
Smart.
hey, and it's a tool that I use, and I call it give and get.
Yeah.
So if I can give
Bartering,
you this,
the old bartering,
can
right?
I,
Give and get.
Can I give and get?
Yeah.
And that should be the relationship with a lot of people. I mean, it's not about expectation. It's about, man, you know, if I did something for you, the common thing to do is to give it back,
Correct.
right? Don't expect it,
Right.
but it's nice to receive it. It's a give and get. You know, this interview here is a give and get,
Right.
So this whole company you showed me, it's a give and get.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's something that I loved, but I negotiated my rent. I said, hey, I will do, you know, this is $3,600 a month. So
That's what I mean by you're a scrapper. You know, whatever it takes to make it happen.
I'll figure it
Pinch,
out.
make it, figure it out,
Yeah.
make it happen. Right.
And at the end of the day, you know, if you see every single major entrepreneur from Bill Gates to Warren Buffett, these guys grind it out. I mean, they had garages, they built their computers. You know, you look at Steve Jobs and how he started with Wozniak. They did everything they could. They were their own salesmen. They were their marketing. If you want it bad enough, you'll do everything that it takes. And then the cool thing is, while you go into the top, you get to do every job, and then you get to appreciate everyone that does that job. And then when you hire them, you treat them with respect.
Right. Love it.
The weird part is these new millionaires where they go from, you know, bagging groceries to a millionaire, and they
Right.
completely
Maybe they invested,
skip.
right? In
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
Shiba Inu and that crap.
Exactly.
Or these influencers that just get paid for their posts, right? So they don't go through these layers and
Stages
journeys.
of experiences, failures, learning, yeah.
And so, you know, it's very important to love the journey, love the pain, lick your wounds. That's completely normal. I don't think we talk about that enough.
Love it.
And mental health. Mental health is everything. Like,
Yeah.
shit's gonna go wrong. You might doubt yourself a plenty of times. There was times where I said, I'm done with Glue. I'm done with the events. I'm done with these clients. No one's ever happy after I do all of this, blah, blah, blah. But when you're done with the event, you see everyone smile and the content, and then like, man, because of you, I met my wife. Because of you, I landed a business. Because of you, I'm an entrepreneur. And so then you hear the stories of what you were able to do through your purpose. Sounds really cool, you know?
Yeah, I love that purpose-driven, that willing to get back from the failures and all the connectivity, and never to give up, right? That's a
Never
key part
give up.
of never giving up.
And like you said, you know, and that's that meme where you see the guy chipping away at the cave, and then diamond's right there, but then he packs up at the end, and he's just like, man, 2 more strokes, bro, and you got the giant diamond.
You know what's interesting too is when you're struggling and suffering in any way, you don't see all the good qualities, good relationships, you don't see your own resources. You
No.
can't see.
See them
So
afterwards.
it's always great to have a mentor to see what you have to offer, even though you don't see it because you're struggling and suffering. So that's why I'm all about mentors and coaches, consultants. Say, look, you've got so many resources. You're so close. You just need
So
to.
close.
Yeah. So I love that.
And you know, you got to trust the process, and you have to love yourself. I think a lot of people don't, or fear, or question themselves.
Yeah.
One of the things that I preach is self-identity. Find out who you are.
Right.
You know, when you're comfortable in your own skin, people feel that, they see that, but they hire you for that. And then when you just love what you do, it's look, I can do an event today, make a penny, I'm happy.
Right.
and or I can make $1 million.
Yeah.
Same feeling.
Yeah. Exactly.
Money never changed me, you know. And my friends always say, "Man, you're the same guy I've met 20 years ago." 30. I was like, yeah, I decided to always be myself. You know, I questioned myself many times.
Yeah.
You know, but meditation really helped me. Consciousness training really helped me.
Yeah. The mindset, right? The mindset is so important to get through those tough challenges and to have that strong mindset.
Yeah. And one of the things that, you know, this is back in college when I was playing soccer. Coach, this is a really cool advice that he gave me. He said, "Who's your favorite player?" And I said, "Oh, Ronaldo." You know, everybody loved Ronaldinho at the time.
Right.
And he said, "But you're a defender. How could you love somebody else's position that you're not in?" So it's like me saying I'm a doctor, but I love a singer.
Yeah.
Right. And what he told me is like, what I want you to do is not love, you know, you can love an icon, you can love people, right? But he says, in order for you to be the best soccer player, you need to study the best person in your field. So you're going to go study the best right backs in the world.
Awesome.
So I was like, oh shit.
Great advice.
Pilo
Great
and all
advice.
these like really Roberto Carlos, you know, he's a left back, but you know, one of my heroes. And so I started studying them in college and I was like, oh, that's how they move. Oh, that's how they defend. Oh. Instead of me trying to be a Ronaldinho when I'm a defender,
Right.
it's just like, what am I doing? And so that's a good advice to focus on who's the best in your space.
Yep.
And go there and find out what makes them successful. I always watch the top marketers. I'm enrolled into like CMO. I became the president of the American Marketing Association 2 years, American Marketing Association, AMA, because I loved marketing so much.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to learn from the biggest CMOs in the world and how do I get better? What are they doing? How does, you know, Coca-Cola at the top, how does Disney, Apple, like, why are they so damn good? It's their marketing.
I think a lot of people get into a rut of doing instead of like insights of understanding, you know, continually going back to that interior part that you mentioned, the meditation, looking at myself interior, questioning what's the next. And that's really at the heart of the entrepreneur, right? Where you really discover, you're reflecting, you have time. Like you said, you had that time, 2 or 3
reflect.
weeks to reflect.
No, I had like 3 months.
3 months to reflect, right? And now but you do meditation.
Now I don't even have that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you make the time to reflect and learn, and so much of that is gone today, where the whole world is so fast paced, and it's just social media, which a lot of it is fantasizing. It's not real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of all that, you know, deep in depth stuff that you're talking about.
And the cool thing about that, Patrick, is that once you look in, you become spiritual.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you get to download information from the universe, and so then you start contemplating and manifesting what you really want. And the cool thing is, once you truly believe, you become a what I call a master manipulator.
Yeah.
You can manipulate
I like
your
it. I like
manifestations. So now
Right.
you can go, for example, when
Being intentional and attracting all the right people, all the right things, all the right events, because you know what you're looking for.
perfect example, I've been going to Ultra for many, many years, and Hardwell was playing that year. I can't remember. It was 2017 or 2018. But I sat there and I was jumping, and I was with a bunch of friends, and I was jumping, and then I stopped jumping, and then I looked at the main stage and I looked at him, and I got into like this trance of I was the only guy not jumping around me.
Right.
But I looked at that stage and I said, one day I'll be up there. I'll be up there one day. Watch. And I manifested so badly. Mind you, I wasn't really into that thing yet.
Yeah.
But I knew that my intentions, every time I ever wanted something, I wanted it with my heart, I spoke it, and I meant it with my mind. And when I got all three agreeing, there's a beam, like a signal that goes out to the universe and says, hey, this guy wants it, give it to him.
Right.
6 months later, I was already producing an Ultra.
Amazing.
Not a year later, not 5 years later, like literally 6
It's
months
amazing. Like one of the things I say is, you know, I'm going to help you 5x your focus, and that's exactly how. By, you know, when you know, and I tell my clients, okay, let's write it down together, make sure it's a specific outcome, and it's a daunting outcome. It's scary, right? Because if it's scary, can we really achieve it? And then you draw deeper down because you got to find your resources. What do I really need to do to achieve that outcome? Because it's daunting. Am I really going to make that much money? So I need to change my thinking, change my mindset, and then the resources start to come. And then you might meet someone where that person won't achieve it because I need someone maybe with more funding, a larger sponsor. So it's amazing the specific outcome when that can do.
And the cool thing too as well is, well, one thing that I did was remove the word fear.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Amazing.
I was very fearful when I was in corporate to lose the job. And Tony Robbins taught me this. It's called a 60-second rule. And what happens is when you are going through a spiral of negativity, the mind is trained to think of other negative stuff. And it is just a downward spiral. So here's what I mean. I lost my job. How am I going to pay rent? Oh my God, if I can't pay rent, how am I going to pay my bills? I'm going to pay my bills. Oh my God, how am I going to pay my car? If I can't get my car, how am I going to go to work?
Right.
So it's just like problem.
And you start projecting new problems that are going to come, right?
Yeah. And so that's how people get stuck in a rut and they can't get out of it because that mindset just keeps putting them down on a rabbit hole of negativity. So what Tony Robbins said is, it's okay to acknowledge that. And Stoicism is the same thing. It's okay to think about the worst things in life so you can prepare mentally. It's like, okay, if this interview goes bad, what am I going to do next? This building goes down, what am I going to do next? If my projects fail, what am I doing next? So it's okay to think in a negative process with a solution, though.
Yeah.
But what Tony Robbins taught me was, once you acknowledge that there's an issue, don't go down the rabbit hole. Instead, go upwards. And so, damn, I lost my job. How am I going to apply for 10? When I apply for 10, I'm going to do 10 a day. And if I get 10 a day, that's an average. So now I'm doing 70 days. That's 70 jobs I've applied. I'm going to get 50% of them call me back or not. And now instead of me complaining about, I can't pay my rent, I can't.
Right. Proactive,
I'm
right?
now,
You're not feeling sorry for yourself. You're providing a solution already.
Right away.
And attracting
the
the solutions and attracting the universe. Yeah.
So that is
I love it.
That change. And then once you start realizing that you're fearless and you don't care about not having a check coming in and stuff like that. And a lot of people are going to be scared of that thought.
Right.
But don't fear it, because if you do fear it, fear overcomes you. We see that with politicians all the time. They use fear mongering from all spectrums, both the Republican and the Democrats.
100% all over, right.
And fear is so powerful because it stops you in your tracks. But love and light is the same thing.
Yeah.
And strength and courage.
Right. It pulls you out. It pulls out the inner resources, the inner richness, and provide solutions and from your inner resourcefulness.
Yeah. And the cool thing is that those resourceful, when you have resources inside you and thought process and solution, you get to go and do it.
Yeah.
And you get to the final stage.
And then you begin to love the journey, as you said.
Yeah.
I love the challenges. I love the fears that come. I love the difficulties because I know I can overcome them. I know it will happen. I think that's where the confidence comes in.
Yeah. And then the cool thing, too, as well, is when I have events, when we have a team meeting, I tell them, all right, guys, we planned this for months. We got every single bullet point in the world. Guess what? None of this is going to work today. And everybody starts laughing or going, what the fuck is he talking about? And I go, none of this trains us for the moment. We can put a guide, we can put strategy so it can guide us, right? So like the questionnaire, right? It's a guide, but it's not how the interview is going to go.
Right.
Events are the same way. Business is the same way. Put enough strategy to stay in course, but pivot and understand that it's okay that things are going to fail. I had events where the power went out, the internet went out, we ran out of liquor. It's just constant events. If you want to become a problem solver, get into events.
Right.
Because there's a million problems to solve, and you got to do it there and then. It's not like, oh, hey, our website went down. Let's talk to our our web guy and he'll get it up within 20. No, the events don't work that way.
Right.
It's nonstop live action.
It's all live. You're at the moment. You got to solve problems immediately, right?
Immediately.
There's no time to think.
And so you got to constantly pivot, but again, you got to have the team and remove fear and remove bickering. That's the number one thing too as well when it comes to
people. I
companies.
feel your team will go into battle with you because you basically have the courage. You're fearless, and
fearless leader.
You're okay with them failing, right?
Yeah.
So you're pulling out. Okay, now they trust I can fail, so it gives a lot of interior freedom.
Yeah, and you see that with our colonels and our sergeants, and so these guys are at the front for a reason, so that they can say, "Shit, if this guy could do it, I could do it too," right? And when you see their courage.
Courage.
And that's the coolest thing from these leaders, that we get to draw space from.
This is so interesting. I know we can, you've got a lot of, this is great. I'm loving it. I want to hear about Binance.
Yeah.
You got into Binance. I want to hear about, I want to talk about as well your new endeavor, your new real estate endeavor. Let's get into those two things.
Yeah. So doing all these events, I pivoted. I went digital. So I was already exploring the side of, advertisement, strategic, placement in terms of digital, whether it be blockchain and, Bitcoin started blowing up, right at COVID. Miami became one of the hotspots for the crypto capital and the cryptonaires. It was us and Tulum that pretty much you can go to.
Right.
And then we just started seeing all this new fast money, and then it was just like all these coins. And I just fell in love with the idea of blockchain. And I think that's going to be the future because of many different factors. Number one, it's highly encrypted software.
Yeah.
It allows us to create our currency without a bank or a loan. It allows us
Cuts
to
out
create
the middleman.
Yeah,
Peer-to-peer, a lot of peer-to-peer interaction.
It's decentralized, so we're not counting on a bank or a Facebook to hold everything, and so we're kind of hold hostages to them if we can, go with their rates or their terms, and so we've been enslaved for a lot of the systems, whether it be education, food. That's it.
It's really decentralization, right? We're pushing power down. I like to call it pushing power and responsibility down to the lowest level possible.
And that's the coolest thing
because
this
is technology that provides that solution, right?
We were decentralized many, many, many years ago with hunter-gatherers. It was we hunted and we gathered and we bartered, and it was
ate what you killed, right?
Exactly. And we shared.
What people don't realize right now, we're going through a really tough moment in like everybody relates crypto with blockchain, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Crypto or NFTs, they're all. So when the crypto market's down, they're thinking they don't even realize that that blockchain is a technology that is
the internet.
It's the internet. It supersedes. It's bigger.
It's
bigger than cryptocurrency, right? It has a lot more use cases.
And the problem is that the clowns always get the spotlight first.
100%.
Because they're clowns. So everybody laughs at the clown or follows the clown for some type of engagement that they want to see, whether it's a laugh or hate or whatever.
Right.
But the clowns always go up, and the problem is then they clown the industry. And we saw that early with the internet. We saw that with when we went to streaming with music. We saw that with a lot of companies when they become disruptors.
Right.
Great thing about disruptors is that they shake the system. And I love that. Airbnb did that with hotels. Uber shook the taxi industry. And we can go on and on and on and on.
Right.
And I love that we are now given this tool of the gods, which is blockchain,
right,
to develop our content, to monetize anything that's creative. You can monetize through the blockchain, and I thought that was incredible. So, going into the Binance deal, at this point, I'm working with Bet Basel. Scott Spiegel is a top guy here in the Web3 space in Miami. He helped bring the Bitcoin Center here and a lot of big brands, and it was part of the movement, right? And Suarez came in, and he just powered down on this technology.
Mayor Suarez of Miami, right?
Big guy, man. What a huge shout out to Mayor Francis, man. He's just a stud, honestly. Whether you love him or hate him, the guy's doing it, right? DeSantis too. I wasn't the biggest fan, but man, the guy stood for Florida and all this stuff. So at the end of the day, I love giving credit to doers and executors, and these guys are doing it.
So Binance, how did it happen?
So here I am producing our Basel events. So 2020, 2021, we're seeing the emergence of NFTs out of nowhere. Basel is usually art driven. It's a lot of activations, galleries, conferences of galleries. You have the actual Art Basel, the Miami Beach Convention Center. So you have all this art, and then all of a sudden, I see a million screens everywhere. And I'm seeing Bored Apes and CryptoPunks and,
all the different
WoWs,
NFTs,
World of Women.
that are out there.
And I just thought, whoa, this is cool. Now, back in 2015, 2016, I was still doing advertising for realtors and brokers, still in the real estate game. And I said, you know what, there's going to be one day where there's going to be a flat screen that looks like a frame, and I'm able to change the picture. I don't have to buy art. I could just change like a screensaver.
Right.
I can change the image of the living room instead of having to buy all new furniture, all new art, that's the way to do it. And I said, no, I think digitally we can change the way a room looks through the color of the art, and then you just put different pillows. And so now all of a sudden with a new piece digitally and pillows and a couple new rugs and a new table with the same couch, you'd have a completely different room.
Right.
So I knew that was going to be in the future. I didn't know it was going to be called an NFT.
Right.
So when
And that there was digital ownership through an NFT, which a lot of people don't realize, right?
Yeah,
That it's
it's so
digital
cool.
ownership because it's on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Because it's on the technology of the blockchain. So I know you've gotten into NFTs for Ed's deal, right?
Yeah.
With the Paradise Club. Is that the one called the Paradise Club?
Yeah.
So just 1 minute about that.
Yeah. Well, let me back up to the Binance because I'm there.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into that because that's related to it.
Okay.
So here I am going to these Art Basel events and producing some of it. We had this 1 week where we had like 20 events.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing like art. And I'm producing like Dead Mouses, Busta Rhymes. I mean, there's like 17 artists that we did.
Yeah.
And I saw the money they made. And I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like, these digital files are going for thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And they're digital collectibles, right? So that's the word for it. It's the digital collectible.
Right. That's what people understand. The 99% understood that, whereas the crypto nerds understood blockchain. Right?
Blockchain, NFT,
Right.
non-fungible. So, the cool thing about
Collectibles.
blockchain and our government are literally identical. The thing is, we just changed the names. So, exchanges are same as the NASDAQ, right? NFTs and tokens are same as a dollar and a coin.
Right.
So there's a lot of
whole new technology system that allows for that to happen.
Yeah.
Decentralized.
The cool thing is that we decentralized it to not give everybody the power, but that's the cool thing. So anyways, fast forward it. Now I'm getting the Binance guys to come to my events. Again, brands always come. The CMO or something, they hear about this party, so-and-so DJ is going to be there, so-and-so hotel. I always try to pick top-notch stuff because people are more comfortable going to an SLS than a brand new bar.
Correct.
So I go for the big brands, I negotiate with them, and then I negotiate with the DJs to play at these venues. And then I give everybody the opportunity, and I negotiate the leverage. I leverage a lot of stuff, like, hey, you're going to play at the SLS in front of 10,000 people, lower your fee a little bit.
Like you said, the give and take thing, right?
Give and get, man.
Give and get.
I've always done that, and so
So the Binance kind of executives started coming to your events.
Yeah, and then
and they
like
approached you and said,
a few months later, they said, hey, listen, we really love the NFT events that you did. We're looking to launch a Binance NFT marketplace with one of our sister companies. Well, they just bought them out, which is Mellows.
Right.
And so Mellows, we worked closely with their team, which was brought in the Binance relationship through Lee and Robert.
And they do the music NFTs, correct? Mellows.
Yeah, so Mellows in that space, you're talking early 2021, late 2020. They saw the future in music NFTs, and so did I. I said, wow, can struggle to sell music, and they have to spend all this money to advertise their music, got to grow their social media. It's just a lot that they had to do for only 13%.
Right.
These guys don't make money unless you're independent and you really figure out the sauce. For 90% of the music industry is very, very tough. And then you got Spotify's who like take all your money. And then you got the distributors who take all your money. Then you got the labels who take 30, 40%.
So another case of blockchain cutting out the middleman and hopefully lowering down the power and the responsibility to the individuals, right? In this case, the musicians.
So I was very interested. Obviously, I do events. I book the DJs. I love music. Music to me is my everything. It's almost like my support system. When I'm sad, I listen to music. When I'm happy, I listen to music. Either way, I'm full of gratitude when I listen to music, and so that allows me to connect with my God. And I'm spiritual in the sense that music is spiritual because if you look down at music, there's actually shapes, and I encourage everyone to see this. And so it's shapes of music. If you Google it or YouTube it, but certain frequencies create very specific
like in
patterns.
water, for example, patterns in the water, right?
Yeah, the sacred geometry. Music and that. So that's why when people say, "Do you feel that sound? Do you feel that music?" It's literally creating shapes in your blood.
Interesting.
So when you feel that, it's like when you understand the science of music and how it makes you feel, it could do many wonders for you. So I figured.
So they came to you and said, "We want you to do the events or the NFTs or the technology, finance."
They wanted me to, because of my network, they wanted me to go get the artist. And so they offered a bonus, like a sign-on, like a, what do they
For
call
the
it?
artist or for you? For
The artist. What's it called? An advance.
In advance.
So they said, hey, go and get us Diplo, go and get us DJ Snake, go and get us
Put aside
J
a lot of
Balvin.
money each month that you had available to you for that, correct?
I had about, at our peak, when NFTs were peaking, at $20 million a month.
That's what I remember you telling me. I'm like, this is an example of, where you get to this position because of all of the experience you had, the struggle, the fighting, the producing and solving problems, providing value, getting known, people trusting you.
Yeah.
Now the big boy, right? Binance right now is still, at the highest level where they wanted to take all that and use it for their benefits.
And the cool thing is, you described all those things that I went through. And so that builds your armor, And so when you go to battle, you have these chinks in your armor, but you have a shield, you have your shoulder pads, you have your you know, the full body armor, you have the stuff in your legs. So when the big boys come, you're just war ready.
You're not intimidated either.
No.
You're ready.
And whether
you know your stuff better than they know their stuff.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about the self-identity and becoming fearless, is that when that opportunity approaches, you're there.
You're ready for it.
There's an advice that I got, which is luck. Luck is when preparation and opportunity meet.
Right.
That's when you get lucky. So you have to find out the opportunities coming to you, but were you prepared for the opportunity?
Yes.
That's luck. Because many times I think we've been put in situations where the opportunities there, it's like, you know, you self-doubt. You're like, I don't think I could do this, you know? And then you start thinking of yourself, man, I can't really do it. And then sometimes you just over-prepare, but the opportunity never comes.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at it somewhere else. So luck is about putting yourself in the right room at the right time with the right place with the right skill.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, gold strikes, right?
Yeah,
so
love it.
It's happened to me with plenty of brands.
So this came in, and just give us an example of a couple of musicians that you brought on as NFTs
Oh
for
man,
Binance.
so I mean the Binance Mellows collab was so cool because we worked with Queen, The Estate,
Nice.
Queen, David Bowie, Trey Songz,
Wow.
Method Man, Wu-Tang. We were in talks with Justin Bieber, J Balvin, Karol G. I mean, the list was crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in record label meetings and artist manager meetings daily basis. Remember, we were on the top of it. You were like, who are you talking to this week? And I'm like,
Right.
I'm talking to John Lennon's like PR person. And oh, tomorrow I'm talking to, you know, 50 Cent's manager. And 50 Cent wanted $1 million for his NFT up front because Snoop Dogg ended up getting that $1 million up front for his Bored Ape stuff. And
Wow.
man, it was just such a Wild West. And the cool thing, again, here's another good advice. Collaborate with a big brand, because that big brand's going to take you levels you couldn't do by yourself.
Right. I always say that.
Binance.
Partnership with others that are either at your level or higher than you, that'll pull you up.
So when I made that deal with Binance, I mean, that contract took about a month and a half to negotiate because, you know, the splits and the money was big.
Yeah.
The artists were big. The time was big. And so I wanted to make sure that I was going to get what I wanted, which is a fair split between both the artists and Binance when the drop came. And one of the things that we focused on is making sure that we're structured correctly. And then that's a lot of things. I think people go into business not structured.
Yeah.
And then they end up getting screwed, or this guy that.
And that's all
Just
experience that you have
get it out of the
working with
way.
brands. Yes.
Most people want to do the contract later on. No, man. Look, before we sit down, let's get the rules out of the way.
100%.
Right? Just like sports. Hey, no tackling below here, or you can't, you know, in soccer.
If you bring in the
can't
big money after, you're going to get cut out unless
get
you're
cut
cut
out,
in,
man.
right? Unless you're cut in early, you're going to get cut out.
So we worked with those artists, and it was a lot of fun. And then, you know, then you started seeing the rug pullers, man, and you started seeing the crappy projects, and then you started seeing the shit coins, and, you know, again, the clowns got in, and it just messed up the circus.
Yeah.
And then it became like a clown party. And
What people don't realize now that we're going through the FTX
it's another
debacle
one.
and all the other big scams and things going on right now, a lot of people who never understood the technology are like, oh, good, I knew that was going to be, you know,
Crap.
pushed aside. It's
Yeah.
over now. You know,
Well, that was
NFTs.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin was, in the beginning, we're talking 2008 was when it was created by Satoshi. And then by, you know,
And Bitcoin, by the way, for our audience, is the first blockchain. And NFTs are on blockchains. This is all about the tech. This is how they're related.
the first token on the blockchain.
The first token on the blockchain. So this is how they're related. NFTs, Web3.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people need to hear this again and again, but that's how everything is related. So people, they equate immediately Bitcoin down, crypto down. That means it's all wiped out. Whereas the technology behind NFTs is here to stay.
Yeah, blockchain is
Blockchain is here to stay.
well, blockchain is so big that now governments are, how do we implement this? How, you know, there's talks of the feds creating their own digital coin, which is the
100%.
opposite of what we're trying to do.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
and you have billions and billions of dollars poured in, and copyrights and trademarks all in the blockchain, because this is the next level of evolution. It's Web3.
Right.
Web 1 is the you got mail. You know, we just like put on, you know, you just watch an article, or so old school, right?
Right.
Then Web 2 became Facebook, interaction, Gmail. You got to log into your account. Now you have a digital account. Web 3 is your personal data connected to the internet, right? It's like, that's what they say, connect your wallet. But your wallet has your everything. It's your social security.
And also digital ownership. That's a big
Absolutely.
part of Web3, where you own the digital
own
assets.
it.
There's assets that are digital that you own, right?
Yeah.
Because of the blockchain.
Yeah, and the cool thing about why, you know, 2008 happened is because of the crash. And so the banks got super greedy, and at the end of the day, we're like, these guys just crashed the entire economy based on greed.
Based on greed.
And just over leveraging themselves. It'll never bust. And so it happened. And then Satoshi said,
nobody was really held responsible, right? I remember
nobody.
that scene in The
they
Big
got
Short.
bailed out. Yeah.
My favorite scene in The Big
with
Short,
bonuses.
after all that crash in The Big Short, they said, and then after the next 3 weeks, there was all kinds of arrests. They're showing all these people going away in handcuffs for like 30 seconds, and then they stop. We're just kidding. Nobody got arrested. One guy got arrested, was thrown under the bus, but nobody was held responsible for all that. Yeah.
That same year, all the bank executives had record-breaking bonuses after being bailed out by our pockets, which was nuts. And so, blockchain was invented for that, for this not to happen again.
That's
so
right.
now we grew a system that could potentially remove the National Reserve and our currency.
Right.
And then guess what? The clowns came in, and we had Silk Road. Right, so now everybody's in Bitcoin are drug dealers, smugglers, internet.
It's a constant push and pull between centralization and decentralization, right? So the more we can keep the decentralization real, I think the better for humanity. But we're running out of time here, so I do want to get into your new project, your new real estate deal. So tell us about that, and that'll be kind of the final segment of the show.
Yeah, so just to wrap up the NFT side, I strongly still believe in the technology when it comes to music. Decentralizing music is really cool, especially for independent artists.
Yeah.
For those that are out there, if you guys are growing your following, just continue to do that because you'll be able to monetize that by creating a fan base. That fan base will follow you forever, whether it's your tickets, your music, your videos, whatever it is. You can now monetize all that through that fanship. And that fans want to be involved in your career. Here's what I mean. When Diplo did the Miguel song, Don't Forget My Love, they dropped that. I helped out a little bit with that. And they dropped it, and Diplo sold out in like literally 2 minutes. And you were able to buy royalty with that. So what happens is no one knew that song was going to go viral and global.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a smash hit globally. And so you had the opportunity to invest in that song and that artist that is blowing up. And the cool thing is once you bought that NFT, there was only X amount of these. I mean, there was less than 5,000 of these. And you got 2 or 3% of the song royalty. So after 2-3 weeks, the song went viral. So if you own that NFT, you just grew it exponentially because it went viral. So the technology, still with it, go with it, use it. We're developing, Apollo Beats, which is a Web 2, Web 3 marketplace for music producers. So we're going to sell music both on an MP3 file, licensing deal, or as an NFT. So that's the cool thing. And so, again, keep going. This is the future. It's going to take time. Everything takes 10 years.
Yeah.
So we just kind of started with this. So we'll see what 10 years look like. I'll definitely be heavily invested in the tokens, and especially the XRPs of the Ripples, the Bitcoin, the Ethereums, the guys that really do it right. Be very careful of these crappy coins and what they stand for, and really do your homework. But aside from me being in love with events and technology, there's nothing better than creating an asset that people go to. So I've always been a fan of real estate, from my early career.
From the beginning, right?
From the beginning.
About that.
But I couldn't do it because sometimes I don't have the capital. I don't have the credit score. I don't have relationships with the bank. And so a lot of us are, in this crappy stage where we can't own assets. And the biggest wealth builder in the United States for many, many years has been the wealth, the real estate wealth that goes from generation to generation, the generational wealth. And that's what we describe. And that's through asset-based and real estate-based hand-me-downs. So we saw this in the 70s and the 80s when you bought houses for super cheap. And then in the 80s, 90s, the next kin got a house. And so you have already a house is already paid for by your parents.
Right.
You can liquefy that to $200,000-$300,000, maybe $500,000. And now you have capital. And then you just work on your credit and boom. And so this is the things that have been going on for so long. And as a minority, I'm Costa Rican, Italian. It's been tough trying to get funding, especially with investors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to take matters into your own hands and collaborate. And so I was given this opportunity with my buddy AJ and Kevin, and they said to me, "Hey man, we know you love the festivals. We know you like building. We know you love containers. I love containers. I build containers for festivals and everything. I have a passion for recycling. I think that another thing that we should do as humans is worry about our environment, what we eat, how we live.
Of course.
Get closer to nature. You get closer to nature, you're gonna get a lot of ideas. When I unplug, I go to Costa Rica. I go to a jungle, and I disconnect and I connect.
Yeah.
I disconnect to
I
connect.
hear you.
And I come back with a million ideas. I come back with vitality. I come back with energy. And then,
Like a renewal.
society.
Huge renewal, right?
Yeah, then society sucks
I
it
think
out of you.
especially with the technology out there, everything's technology driven. You have to have that inner time and inner space and connect with nature.
Connect with it.
It's so important. So they invited you to come into this project with them, and you all came in as partners, investors, and so tell about where it is, how big it is, acreage. Give us some stats on the project and where we're at.
So Caven I knew for about 7 years. I ended up creating a one of the largest founders group called Miami Made. It was me, Barry, and Brandon who started it, and we started with like a few entrepreneurs. And next thing you know, we had like 200-300 entrepreneurs coming, meditating, manifesting, and gathering with us once a month, and it became events. And so Caven has been in my network since the beginning. AJ as well. And then, there was an opportunity in the government to create an entertainment district in Homestead. And Caven was responsible, and so was AJ, to put this kind of whole thing together, mainly AJ. And the cool thing they're deciding who do we bring in. And then the hard part about a project like this is that you have to hire a lot of teams.
Yeah.
But with me, it's like you get like 10 people in one. And the good thing is he knew me for a long time. So he says, man, I'm looking for somebody that knows how to design, knows events, knows marketing, knows how to manage people, put structures in place. And so he would have had to hire 5 different agencies just to do one single job, whereas with me...
You're the right person at the right time.
Yeah, man.
Your experience, your talents, your drive, your scrappiness.
And the skills and how to manage budgets. And so when he called me, he said, hey, I've got an opportunity where we can build one of the largest container parks, if not largest entertainment parks in the U.S. And I said, okay, tell me more. And it's like, it's containers. And I was like, my eyes went like, plong. And then he said, I can let you do anything you want. The festivals, the concerts, everything that you've built, you can do it. But let's make money on it.
You have your own platform to
So
do your
now
own
I'm
events,
going, oh my God.
festivals. Right.
Here I am.
This is like putting your whole career together, right? And
Yeah,
the ideal situation of everything you've been. This is what I mean by deal flow, right? Where all your skill sets and success, now all of a sudden the opportunities for deal flow, new deals at a higher level come into play, right?
I got lucky, right? So I prepared and the opportunity came.
Lucky with a lot of preparation, right? A lot of preparation, a lot of effort.
And that's how you get lucky. You can't get lucky without preparing and the opportunity. So I prepared for all these years. One thing that I was always missing was I don't have a home, right? Not physically, I have my home, but I don't have a place to call home. I don't have an asset that I can control daily. I don't own a club. I don't own a commercial place. I don't own an office. I don't, I had the co-working space, but it went in under because of COVID. Nobody could pay. But, and that was with 2 other partners. And so I was a minority owner. So I always felt like, damn, man, I wish I could have a spot that I can just give all my ideas.
Now you've got it more than you ever imagined, right?
Now I have 47 acres.
47 acres in an amazing location.
Man, couldn't get any busier.
Yeah.
I mean, easier than what this is. And I don't want to go too much detail because we're going into the building phase of it. But just to give you an overview, this is one of the largest. This is probably, if not the largest container park in the U.S. We've got Vegas is one of the top ones. But we're talking acres on acres of land. And so the challenge was, how do you connect that many acres into a walkable space? And so I've had designer teams come in with me. I've had architects. We have a big team of engineers, architects. We're working with some of the best builders. Juan Paleo he was a VP of Related. We're working with some of the top lawyers in the actual court system to approve the contracts and everything. It's very, very hard and detailed when you're working with the government. I mean, This is not like a deal flow that's some guy that owns 10 acres that you just got to figure it out. The government wants everything and anything, who's working for you, they got to be vetted. I mean, it's a lot of detail. This is the most complex project I've been part of and the most excitement that I've been part of, because this builds a massive future for me, because it's not just a park. We're going to build an entire city district, 10-story buildings, 9 of them, inside, the park's inside of them. So think about Midtown, Edgewater area where that Target is, and so there's that land is there. It's not a park, but you have the surrounding buildings in it. Imagine if park was built in the middle, where it has an amphitheater, it has retail, it has a food court, like a food hall. There's playground, there's outdoor gyms, and
regular entertainment.
Entertainment. Then there's DJs, and then there's retail stores for pop-ups and small business owners. There's galleries. We're going to do buyouts for charities. We're going to do, all types of events, concerts and festivals. So it's an all-in-one encompassing entertainment district that Homestead does not have. And so A lot of people are like,
Homestead, Florida, in South Miami,
basically the last place that you can buy land.
Right.
Affordable land, and we were able to really have a great opportunity to do this project. Very, very excited about it. I think it's going to bring a lot of jobs, creativity, but also an outlet for people, because in Homestead, there's not much to do. And so you either got to go to the Keys or you drive to Miami, right?
And your two neighbors are who? Because that makes a big, right? Your audience is already there, right?
Oh man, the neighbors. I mean, this is and I tell people, man, work hard, because you never know what blessing is going to fall from the sky.
Right.
So a couple of things that when I was like, okay, should I take on this project? It sounds amazing. It's probably my life project.
Yeah.
But where the hell is it? And why Homestead? And what's around it?
Right.
And I got to create that traffic. Oh fuck. That was like a thing that I was just like, wow. So I said, Cameron, walk me to the place. He goes, well, above us is the Amazon shipping facility. That's 3 million square feet.
Has told me 25,000.
25,000 employees. That's above the park, like literally across the street.
Across the street.
And then right underneath it is the Air Force Base, with like 5,000 to 10,000 airmen and their families surrounding. Right. And then we have all these new Lennar homes and families that have been there.
You got people driving to the Keys, right? Going through there as well.
Yeah. And right off the highway, you can see it.
Right off the highway.
So it's like...
Is there a website people can go to now to see it, or not yet?
We're building it, but it's called Homestead Town Center.
Okay, Homestead Town Center.
And so all that is being, because it's still under... We're in the last stages of our contract. Everything is going to be now acquired. We've already purchased the containers. We've already purchased all the decor, what the park's going to look like. And then we're going to start slowly advertising. Our due date is the April 1st, 2023.
Okay.
And then we're going to do a collaboration with both the Army and Amazon, so that we can have a crazy air-sea show. So, air show, because there's no sea there.
Right.
But that's the idea. It's like a thing that the Air Force Base does every year. It's kind of like their Air and Sea show, but down in Homestead. So we're hearing numbers of 50,000 plus people come to that, and they're all on the Air Force Base. We have the Homestead Air, I think, car track, or what it was called. It's like where they hold the Daytona 500. And we wanted to do an event during October for that, but we couldn't have time. But we look forward to this project, man. This is something that, that I can tell everyone there. It's just focus. When you want something so bad, it will happen. It's not on your time, though. It's not on your time.
It's not on your time, but you had what I call the outcome based. You had an outcome of what you wanted in life. You attracted it, you fought for it, you built, you suffered, you got through it.
Yeah.
You solved problems when they came, and then the opportunity at the right moment
came.
Because the luck, you call it luck, but it was a lot of experience, right? That brought it there. So, and you've got the mindset. That was a big part. You mentioned that many times throughout the talk, the mindset, right?
And it's just without the mind, you can't do this, because everything will break you. Drama's going to kill you. People are going to kill you.
People are going to screw you, right?
Yeah, screw you over. And you just got to, put it in a certain compartment in the mind, but you also need help. It's seek therapy. It's super dope. Talking to a psychologist, how you feel.
Yeah, mentors. Partners, people
friends,
that inspire you, friends, all those things. No one does this in a vacuum, right?
Yeah, and I always say this: if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Right.
Yeah. So that's your friends, that's your family.
Right. That's your team.
That's your team. So if you're smarter than all those people, man, be prepared to not be successful. Right. I'm sorry to say that.
You got to be around other people that are pulling you up.
Yeah, it's okay to have these friendships, but that should not be your circle. Your circle should be bigger or better than you in every aspect of it. But the cool thing is, and I always say this, once you want to become something, right? So there's another rule that I have, which is if you want to be a millionaire, surround yourself with 9 of them.
Right.
So you could be number 10.
Nice.
But money is not the purpose. It's putting together that team of millionaires, like an athlete.
Mastermind, a mission, the purpose. The purpose has got to be broader.
It's got to be broader. And also the team. You can't just be hanging out with a bunch of realtors, and that you got to expand your mindset. How does a Patrick think? How does a John think? How does a Mike think? How does a think? And they're all different spectrums. But the cool thing is that we all kind of got in the same goal, which is either become a millionaire or an entrepreneur. But again, that's just like the end goal. How did you get there? And the cool thing is we all have a lot of things in common, like you mentioned, all those little bullet points. But it's about, not being the smartest person in the room. The biggest rule that I have of all, and maybe this is my last statement here: idea, strategy, execute. If we live in that world, you will be successful. And I'll tell you why. One is everyone has ideas. We all got them. The cool thing about an idea is that it floats around like in the universe. and it pops in and pops out. You ever been in a place where everyone says, "Oh, I remember that idea. I had the same idea."
Right.
And then my rebuttal is, "How come you never executed it?" Right? And so what happens is that idea pops in, but then it popped out, and then it came into my head. But the cool thing is, I kept it, and I put strategy behind it. So that's the second thing, right? So once you have an idea, hold on to it, write it down, put strategy behind it. And that doesn't mean a crazy business plan. It's just enough to execute. Now, the problem with entrepreneurs and just people in general when they have an idea and they can't execute it is they get analysis paralysis.
Right.
They overthink it. It's
That's
not
what
the
I mean by
perfect
getting
color.
stuck. Right.
So you get stuck and, I don't have the money and I don't have the this. And listen, I didn't have none of those things. I come from a single parent home, 5 kids, single mom. Father died when I was 5. There's no excuse. I went through college on soccer scholarships. I had to figure it out and go figure it out. But the cool thing is you put enough strategy that you will be able to execute. And that's where you want to always go. You have the idea, you write enough strategy to execute. And once you get to the execution phase, the cool thing about that is that, number one, it worked. Wow. I'm surprised it fucking worked.
Some success cases
right
behind you.
And then the other cool thing is, oh shit, I failed. This is terrible. But guess what? I executed. I'm proud of myself. There were some events that I made no money. And I like my wounds.
But you kept going, you fought, you found
I made it better.
You made it better.
That same event.
You got the experience.
When I executed, and whether it kicked my butt or not, I learned that I can improve this process. But guess what? If I never executed, I would have never learned it.
Josh, you provided so much insight on the show, so much mindset, insight, wisdom. I love it. It's been amazing. Just final thing, tell us how people can reach you for your different areas that they might be interested in. The property and homestead, they might be interested in connecting you. What's the way to reach out to you?
So LinkedIn, Joshua Parini, you can go on there, look me up. I'm not really in the socials anymore. Why? I decided to put them down so I can really, really focus. That's another strategy.
That's okay.
Just say, work on yourself. Like 2023, I'm going to really blow out all the things that I've done in the last 2 to 3 years.
Nice.
But Miami_Parini is my IG. And then as far as my NFT agency, you can go to newwaveartist.com, newwaveartist.com. And then as far as the event experiential side, it's thecreativeglue.com.
Joshua Parini, awesome in many aspects. Love to have you. Thank you so much for joining us on Deal Flow with Patrick T.
Yeah.
Where actionable insights help you close your next deal. So
let's do it.
Thank you,
Patrick.
Awesome.